Jake Harper from American Torah here, and I'm talking about Proverbs 31. Now, everybody knows this chapter is about the Proverbs 31 woman. She is the ideal wife. She is competent. She is respected. She takes care of her family. She contributes to the household, to the whole community. She is a businesswoman. But there are some hints here about, deeper character attributes that aren't listed necessarily explicitly. Let me read to you two verses. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. And then go down to verse 31. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Now, first off, in verse 23, this chapter is about the ideal wife. So why all of a sudden is it talking about her husband? What does her husband sitting in the gates have to do with any of this? Well, the city gates are the place where all government takes place. This is the court. This is where the elders meet, all town decisions, the town meetings. That's where all of these things take place. If you remember the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot was at the city gates where he met the two strangers. Judges are said to judge at the city gates. God's law is supposed to be written on the city gates. And that's because this is the center of all community life. A man who sits at the city gates is a man who is a respected elder in the community. He is one of the community judges. So if there's a civil suit, if there's a crime, he's one of the men who are going to preside over the court, over the trial. So why is this here in Proverbs 31? Because she is the thing that enables him to sit there. You've heard the saying, behind every great man is a great woman. It is almost universally true. And it's also almost universally true that behind every terrible man is a terrible woman. Now, neither of these rules are always true. They're not laws of nature. These things, just like all of the Proverbs, this is talking about tendencies. If a man has a good wife, he is more likely to be a good man and have a successful life himself. If he has a bad wife, he is much more likely to have a bad life and be unsuccessful. Some of the specifics here. What qualifies a man to sit in the city gates? Well, he has to have knowledge of justice. He has to understand what justice means, which means he has to understand God's law, because that is the very definition of justice. So what does this tell us about his wife? His wife allows him the space to learn and study Torah, to learn about God's law. She encourages him to spend time in the Word, to spend time in prayer, to spend time with God. A woman who discourages her husband from doing those things also discourages his ability to be a respected elder at the city gates. A man who sits at the gates is a man who is, he's probably a successful businessman. For the most part, people who are poor, who have made bad financial decisions, aren't qualified to sit in the gates and judge others. You have to have your own life in order. This also means that his wife is probably frugal. She doesn't waste a lot of money. She doesn't spend the household resources on, frivolous nonsense. She doesn't spend all of her time shopping for shoes or whatever. There's nothing wrong with shopping for shoes. Some people just go overboard. This woman doesn't. This man who sits in the city gates, just like the elders that Paul instructed Titus and Timothy to choose for their new congregations, has children of good reputation. His children aren't in trouble. That means that he has raised them well. It means that his wife has raised his children well. She has taught them Torah herself, which means that she also studies and knows Torah well. She has a good reputation. She is well behaved in public. And this is another qualification for an elder. His wife must be of good reputation. She can't be a gossip. She can't be a loose woman. She can't be a public nuisance. So this woman, this Proverbs 31 woman, she allows her husband to serve the community by being a good woman herself. Because of her competence, he is able to serve in the city gates. Because of her hospitality, her preparation of her home, keeping things in good order, keeping the pantry well stocked, he is able to open his home to visitors, to visiting dignitaries and the visiting poor. And then finally at the end it says, "Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates." Just like a woman of good reputation allows her husband to serve in the city gates, a man of good reputation who serves in the city gates is a testament to his wife's great character. Everyone in town is going to know that she keeps her house well, that she teaches her children, that she encourages her husband to study Torah, that she studies Torah herself, and that she is a source of much or most of his wisdom. When you see a man who is well respected, who has clear wisdom in giving advice, in dispensing justice, you can almost be certain that his wife is like him, that she is wise, she has great knowledge of justice, of Torah, that she is prepared, she has raised her children well, she runs her household well. The two are complementary. A great man can't really exist without a great wife, and a great woman will automatically promote her husband in the eyes of everyone around her. A good or a poor wife can make or break your entire life. Choose wisely. Ask lots of advice about your prospective mates. If you are wanting to get married and start a family, that's a great thing. But be sure that you are choosing wisely. Don't go sleeping with whoever offers herself, because you could be tying yourself to a boat anchor. Whereas you could be getting yourself some wings. So look for that Proverbs 31 woman. Create a partnership with her, and you will help each other go a lot further together than you could ever go apart. And definitely a lot further than you could ever go with a bad spouse. This is Jake Harper from American Torah. Be blessed.